So this is my case trapper. This particular model is a bone scale jigged bone that is dyed green. The guy at Cabela's called it a burgundy green, but I think it might be the Bermuda green, but I don't really know. So it's one of those. But anyway, this is if you're not familiar with the trapper pattern, this is a slip joint knife with a clip point blade and a spay blade. Like I said, this particular one is in the green dyed jigged bone, and it has the tru-sharp stainless blades. Tru-sharp stainless, case doesn't really say what kind of steel it is. I think there's some speculations out there on what it is. I don't really pay attention to that, but it's probably some sort of like 440 or something. It holds an edge well enough for a knife like this. You're not going to use this for any incredibly extraneous tasks. I've noticed with my Sodbuster and tru-sharp, the blade seems to hold an edge about on par with like an 8CR 13 MOV knife. So, I mean, it holds an edge decent. If you use the knife a lot, what I do is I just come home and I touch it up on ceramic sticks, just to make sure I have a really sharp edge on my knife pretty much no matter what. And the cool thing about the trapper pattern is you have two blades, so if one goes dull, you have another one. But anyway, so this particular knife, I got it for a little under $50. They have more expensive trappers in all sorts of different handle scales and stuff. All the way from the yellow synthetic handles all the way up to like carbon fiber and crap. But anyway, so, they have different handle scales and options and stuff. And you can either get them in CV or the tru-sharp stainless. Now, the CV steel, only certain handle scales are available with the CV steel. The yellow synthetic is, I think there's like an amber jig bone that is, and there's like a red bone that is too. And I think there's a chestnut bone too that's available in the CV steel. But your options are greatly limited compared to what you can get with the tru-sharp stainless. And quite frankly, the reason I bought this particular knife is just because I thought it was really good looking. I saw it sitting in the case at Cabela's, and I couldn't stop thinking about it for like 2 weeks. So that's why I bought this knife. But anyway, so the knife itself seems to be fairly well made. There are some fit and finish issues that I've seen with most of the case knives that I have. Out of the like 3 slip joint case knives that I have, it's pretty much something that's pretty prevalent on all of them. The blades are not centered perfectly. The clip point blade, in fact, rubs up against one of the brass liners. It's not really that big of a deal to me personally, because it's a knife that's going to get used and stuff. So the blades will get some slight scratches on them and stuff. So it's not something that really bothers me that much. But if you're a collector, something you might want to keep in mind. I would suggest checking out these knives in person, going to like Cabela's or somewhere that's a case dealer that has a bunch of case knives, and checking them out in person and everything, making sure the fit and finish is up to your standards before you buy the knife. But yeah, so on this knife, it seems like the fit and finish is fairly decent, other than like the blade centering. And in the back spring, there are really small little gaps between the liners and the back springs. But it's not anything that affects the use of the knife, so it doesn't really bother me. I will say that it seems like the spay blade snaps open with more authority than the clip point. Let's see if I can demonstrate that closing it. It's probably not gonna... I don't know. Don't know if that came across on camera, but the spay blade does snap open and closed with a little bit more authority than the clip point. Is that really an issue? Probably not. They both snap open and closed with enough authority that I'm not really worried about it. My yellow synthetic Sodbuster and CV is weaker snapping than either blades on this knife, so I'm not really all that concerned about it. I will say that both blades seem to have just a slight amount of blade play. I think the clip point has a little bit more than the spay blade, but it's not anything that's really going to affect the use of the knife or anything, so it's not really that important. But yeah, so I've been pretty impressed with this knife. The few times that I have carried it and used it, it is, definitely a usable design, and I like it. I will say that I think this knife is probably going to spend less time in my pocket than any of my other knives, probably, just because it's so pretty and I don't want it to get too messed up. But, if I'm like dressed up or something for a special occasion, this knife will probably find its way into my pocket just because it's a really nice looking knife. But anyway, so overall I'm pretty happy with this knife. And for a little under $50, I think that's a decent price for a knife like this. There's a lot of different options for the handle scales and stuff. There's a couple different options for blades. I think Case even has one in 154 cm now, or at least they did. I don't know if they still do. But yeah, it's just an interesting thing to look at. If you're interested in a trapper pattern knife, I really do like Case knives. It's a Pennsylvania-based company. I live in Pennsylvania. But anyway, if you're looking for a trapper pattern knife that's not incredibly expensive, I would definitely suggest checking out a WR Case & Sons knife. Yeah, that's pretty much it for today.